Meet James Logan.
Hello.
This is James Logan.
Hi. How's it going?
You might remember him from the pilot as Agent Walker.
Yeah, that was me.
We met a couple years ago through a friend, Miss Polly Perrette, and he also did an amazing, very funny, and I'll put the link right here, YouTube Terminator Termination.
Oh yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah.
It's hysterical. Describe it.
It's basically, it was a Groundlings sketch, and I went and saw. A friend of mine was in the Groundlings. The guy who plays the Terminator. Here's his headshot. Tim Brennan. He was anyway. I went and saw it. They came up on stage. It was so hilarious, and I was just like, this is gonna disappear when this 6-week run is over. It's over, and this is just gonna fall into the memory hole. So we talked about shooting it. And then 2 years later, we actually shot it. We shot it in a day, and then we just cranked it out. And then I worked on it for 6 months, and then.
And it looks like $1 million.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we spent nothing to do it, but
so funny. And I'll put the link up here when I get
right
to edit.
here. It is.
And you're like world class stuntman.
Well, world class might be a stretch. I'm best in the hemisphere. I think it would be
when did you get started doing stunts?
I got started in stunts. There's a whole couple of what made me decide that I was going to be a stuntman. This is probably not. I used to play football. I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I used to play football in Dallas. Yeah, and it was so hot and miserable. And I was in the 7th grade, and it was miserably hot. We were in 2-a-days, and I decided that I was going to jump off my A-frame roof and break my leg, so I didn't have to play football anymore.
Are you serious?
I swear. And so I did. I got up on my roof. I took off running leap from the very toppity tip of my roof, and I jumped off, and about halfway in the air, I was like, this is not a good idea. And I hit the ground, and I rolled, and I landed, and I came up on my feet, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a stuntman. And I always thought that I was going to be. I always knew that I was going to be in, make movies or whatever, actor or whatever. But then that's when I realized that I was going to be a stuntman.
And you didn't break your leg?
No, I didn't break my leg.
Did you continue to do football?
I continued to play football because there was no way. I wasn't brave enough to either break my leg or quit playing football.
And what did you do after high school?
I went to University of North Texas for 2 years or something, something like that, and I was like, that's enough of that.
What did you do after that?
I drove to Hollywood.
And what was your first job in Hollywood?
Oh God. Well, my first job was I worked at Mel's Diner or whatever on Ventura out in the Valley. That was my very first job. That was one of my longest running jobs in LA. That lasted about 2 months, and then what else? We were just run over by an airplane, by the way. That was fascinating. Then I worked at the Improv. I had these friends of mine that got me a job at the Improv, and that one was also a nice run. That lasted about 2 months as well. That's about as long as I can hold a job. But then I had various jobs here and there, waiting tables, or never really waiting tables, like busing tables, really. And then just little stunt jobs here and there, and then it started to snowball.
How did you get your first stunt job?
I got my SAG card from a guy named Don Richardson. Wait, sorry. Okay, you're gonna have to cut that. My acting coach was a guy named Don Richardson. He was my first acting coach. He was awesome and just one of the greatest acting coaches ever, or greatest people ever. But I got my SAG card from an awesome stunt guy whose name sounds like Don, but is actually Ron Hutchinson. Don Richardson, Ron Hutchinson. You can see, Ron, why I made that mistake if you're watching this. And if you are, I'd like to play Clyde in your Bonnie and Clyde movie. But anyway, that's you can cut all that out and email it to him or something. But anyway, yeah. So it was a movie called Trouble Bound, and directed by a guy named Jeffrey Reiner, and Ron put me in it. You know, it was just a a bar fight with Michael Madsen and Patricia Arquette, and you know, I was just some goofy looking soldier. I had to shave my head for it, which was you know, that was well worth it. It was dramatic, but it was well worth it. I remember at one point sitting in front of the mirror, because I was 21 or whatever, and more vain than I am now. Whatever, anyway, I just remember like looking at my shaved head in the mirror going, it's gone. It's all gone. And then when I go back and watch that footage now, it's just like, oh, stop. Who is that clown? I mean, yeah, it's... But, you know.
And then did you just continue to work steadily? How did you start to make contacts with people?
Well, I didn't...
Get more work? Did you have to get an agent? How does that work?
Well, with stunts, it's a little different. I mean, I didn't really get a whole lot of acting work, you know, up front initially. I did here and there, but most of my acting work came later from stunt coordinators who hired me for stunt jobs that involved, you know, delivering some dialogue and then rolling down some stairs or whatever. But, so the first, like, 10 or 15 years that I was out here, well, I don't know about that, because I've only been out here 20 years, but the first 5 to 7 to 10 years or whatever, it was really, you know, it was just slow. It was just like, I was working probably more than a lot of people in town, but not enough to, you know, really consider myself a working stuntman or pay all my bills, which I kept real low, too, which is even sadder. But I, you know, so to get stunt work, you basically... You got to show up, and now this was all years ago, and it's kind of changed. But back in the day, it was like you would have to hustle, and you would just show up on the set with your headshot in one hand, and you know, hey, Mr. Stunt Coordinator, and you know, you'd have to get in his face multiple times, and then eventually he'd be like, I'll give the kid a shot. And then if you know, showed up and did your job, and you weren't an idiot, and you kept your mouth shut, and you kept your eyes open, you know, you might get another job. He might say to his next, you know, his buddy, hey, you need a 5'9", you know, Caucasian kid? Yeah, hire James. You know, you used him the other day. So that, you know, and the more you hustle, the more stunt coordinators know you, the more you put yourself in the you know, so that's how I got into the stunt community, and that's how I got stunt work. But then that parlayed itself into acting jobs because there are a few of us. I mean, there are a few great stunt actors, great ones. Got like Michael Papajohn. You know, there's a lot of great stunt actors, but Dennis Kiefer is awesome, and you know, but then you know so it was a niche that I was able to just skate right through, and
But how do you learn the skill? Like, were you taking like stunt classes? Like, I mean, it's not like you can just go, okay, I'm gonna go practice jumping off of a building today.
Well, you know, yeah, that's kind of how you learn how to jump off of a building. I mean, you know, like a lot of times people come to the stunt community from things like, you know, they were a motocross champion, or they were a martial arts champion.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of gymnasts find themselves in the stunt community, you know, and I was the guy who jumped off his roof to break his leg so he didn't have to play football. I mean, I had done a lot of stunts. I had trained for stunts throughout high school, as any of my high school friends can attest. I was like, you know, I was an idiot. Don't try this at home, kids, but I mean, I was like a total surfing on top of cars and, you know, jumping out of speedboats, and I mean, you know, nothing that anyone would think was usable other than to get yourself thrown in a mental institution. But I, you know, I mean, that's kind of, I did a little martial arts growing up, and I did a little, you know, I played football, so I was used to getting pounded, like hit hard and taken to the ground, and you know, I wouldn't even mention, you know, gymnastics. I mean, I'm just saying I knew how to hit the ground. I had that under my belt. I had that experience. And I had driven a lot of cars, you know, improperly. And I knew how to handle them to some degree. Yeah. But you know, so that was my training. I mean, I came out here with just... I came out here, my training was the confidence that I could hit the ground and make it believable for film. And anything else that I needed to do, or that I was hired to do, I would either learn how to do it or turn down the job. You know, so if I got a call for to skydive through, I'm not a skydiver, so I pass that off. If someone wanted me to ride a wheelie through a church, I would call,
Mm-hmm.
John Ashker or Jay Caputo, I wouldn't put myself up for that job, Jaleel J. Lynch is really who I would call. He's the master. But I mean, John's good too. You're going to have to cut this way down.
No. I think this is really fascinating because I think there are a lot of people out there that move out here and they want to be stunt actors or they want to be actors who can do stunts, and I think that I've been here. I was a casting director and I had no idea what the answers were here. So
what's funny is that
I think this is very helpful.
Well, I had a dear friend of mine, producer, at one point before she really knew like what I'd do or whatever. She watched my reel and she said to me, she was like, "Wow, if I had known, not just you, but like if I'd have known that there were stunt guys who can actually act, I would have hired." There was so much. Her mind was just racing through jobs after jobs after jobs. I'm not trying to take anything away from stunt guys who don't act because they,
Right.
I mean. There's some. I mean, that's not a requisite to be a stuntman. You do not have to be able to deliver a line of dialogue to be a stunt guy, but it helps.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not. I mean, I didn't have any pedigree to become a stuntman. I didn't have any, like I wasn't a professional, motocross guy. I wasn't a professional, skydiver. Tim Rigby, the master. I wasn't. I didn't have all that. I just came out of here from Dallas in a Jeep and like, hey, I'm going to come be a freaking stunt guy in your town. Woo!
So that's all you have to do is just come out here and say,
just
I'm
get in the car, drive to California. But I will say this, when I first, probably half an hour after I got to California in 91, my Jeep, just died in a town called Blythe, California. And I was there. And I was just like, oh, this is a nightmare. And I had driven out there with a friend of mine, and as soon as the car broke down, the girl in L.A. that he was going to go meet drove to Blythe, picked him up, and they left. So I'm alone in Blythe. Well, which was fine. I told him to go because I didn't want him to have to suffer through Blythe with me. But nothing against Blythe, but it was hot. So I was at this one little kind of what I remember as like a. It's almost like one of those Western kind of roadside markets, but it looked like it was built as a Western set, kind of. I mean, it might just be totally my imagination, but that's how I remember it. And I was sitting on the porch, might have had a banjo, I don't know, spitting into the spittoon, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm sitting there, and this white truck drives up, and the license plate, I don't remember exactly what it said, but I do know that it had the word stunt in it. It was like stunts for you, or stunt guy, or stunt doc. That's what it was. It was stunt doc. Anyway, or something like that. But anyway, so, and there was a dude in the car, and we started, and I said, hey, I'm going to California to be a stunt guy. And he started going on, telling me some of the stuff and telling me a little bit of the ins and outs, but just kind of just a little, took his time to talk to me about it. And at that point it was 91, so he had just done Batman, one of the Batman movies, and he was telling me how he got ratcheted or whatever, and it was just so fascinating to me, and it almost made me realize I am on the right path. Even though my car, I was down sweating, probably actually it's probably a lot cooler than Texas at the time, so I probably wasn't worried about the heat, but I was a little I'm not going to even make it to California. Should I turn around? And Dave Rowden is the guy's name. He's a legendary stunt guy. He was one of the guys that got in Minority Report. He was one of the guys that that flew around with the jetpacks in the alley, and Tom jumps on his back at one point. It's awesome. And the guy's he's done a lot of stuff. But anyway, years and years later, I never knew who he was. That's because I'm terrible with names anyway, but I never knew who he was, and I was on the set of Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man.
I did the extra casting on that.
Oh, well, what's his name? Michael Papajohn. Was
the thief.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so I was on the set of that one day, and I met, this is not so terrible, but I can't remember the guy's name, but I met a guy. And I told him that story, and he put it together for me, and he goes, Dave Rowden, that's Dave Rowden, I was there. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, so it's trying to wrap my mind around it. But anyway, and then later met Dave, and we worked with him on a show, a pilot called Along Came Jones or something. and it was awesome. Like
so you're on the right path.
Yeah. So I mean, and you seriously, you got to save these people and edit some of this down.
This is good. I think that this is all good. So we've got. It's like we're at 15 minutes. So a couple quick questions for you. What's your favorite stunt you've ever done?
I guess. Oh wow. I don't know. Is that me? Hold on. I'm just gonna put it over here. My favorite stunt that I've ever done is I guess it's got to be getting drowned by Jason Statham in the pool on the mechanic. That was.
Oh yeah.
That was awesome. Well, my SAG. I doubled an actor named James Russo, and I doubled him on Public Enemies at the very beginning when he gets shot and dragged behind the car. So, although I have favorite stunts that I've done, really any job that I'm working with Russo is my favorite job because he is just. We just have a great time. We just laugh the whole time, and he's awesome. So, and also it's like when you're working with someone who I just get him, you know what I mean? So I can just sit back and let him do whatever he's capable of doing or whatever, he was comfortable doing because he can do it all. But I mean, whatever he wants to do, and then he'll step back and let me step in. And so we have this thing, you just don't get that a lot I'm sure that stunt guys have those relationships with their actors, but I think you're lucky as a stunt guy if you ever have that relationship, I think, and I'm pretty lucky. So I guess my answer is any stunt I've ever worked with Russo.
That's good. And one last question, because this is a zombie web series. You have a pretty big fascination with zombies.
I do. I love zombies.
And you got a lot of zombie apps on your phone.
I do.
What's your favorite zombie app?
Well, I gotta say that for what made me buy the iPad was this. I was at one of my best friend's house in Dallas, and a guy named Dave Netherland, and I was at Dave's house, and on his app he had Zombieville, the first one. So I played it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is awesome!" And then so I bought the new iPad. And a couple months later, when it came out, I bought it, and my first app was Zombieville 2. And I love it. Whatever. I'm a nerd. I mean, I love zombies. There's also great first-person zombie shooter games. Yeah. So, I get them all. I literally, I was telling Chad a long time ago, I was like, I did it last night. If I had my iPad here, I could open it up and the search term in the thing would say zombie. I searched zombies 2 or 3 times a month trying to find the next zombie game.
And so that's the end of our little video. Please donate, and you'll actually see him in the series because he was actually supposed to be dead. I mean, he was going to be dead, and you're still going to see him, but we couldn't. When we were watching the pilot, we were editing the pilot. I was behind Jesse, and I was like, and Jesse stopped at one point. He stopped. He goes, "What?" And was like, "We can't kill him. He can't die because you're so good."
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you.
That's so awesome. Thanks.
I'm so excited.
I love it. I really, when I read the script, I was like. To me, it was like a clever elongation of the Godfather scene where it's between where they're killing freaking shooting the dude in the eye. What's his name from Vegas? Oh. No, the guy. Anyway, I can't think of his name, and that's sad because we just lost 5 viewers. They're like, "You don't know who Frankie Matanza was?" But anyway, the scene where they're killing everybody, cutting between them killing everybody, and the baptism.
Yeah.
To me, this script was like that, and if you watch the pilot, you maybe no chance understand what I'm saying, but maybe you will. I don't know.
Thanks.
Yeah, I love it. But anyway, I loved it. I was taught I just when I got that part, I was so excited because it's great. I mean, if you haven't watched it, you have to go watch it.
And if you haven't watched it, then we just spoiled the ending for you. So
why
are you watching these videos now?
Yeah, what are you doing? Go back. Watch it.
Thank you. And we've only got a couple. We've got 11 days left at this point. So please, any amount helps us make it, and we're gonna shoot some episodes, and then we'll have them for you to see. That's all you need.
$20. That's $600.
That's like 2
lawnmowers. That's like 600.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, or it's like going to see Hunger Games, only
right. You've seen it. You've seen it.
You've read
you know what I mean? If you've seen Battle Royale, you've seen Hunger Games.
If you've seen Brave,
right?
You've seen Hunger Games.
Have you seen Brave?
No,
you should go see Battle Royale.
I've seen Hunger
It's on
Games.
Netflix now, by the way. I just saw it on there last night.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Give us
goodbye.
money.
I'll
Bye.
keep talking. I'll later.